Okay, so thank you all so much for joining us again. We will dive into our green purchasing training, and this is just full of tips that we've learned throughout the years studying sustainable procurement and green purchasing. Sorry, one second. Okay, so to get started, we'll just dive in kind of what is green purchasing? So you could think of a fancy term for green purchasing as sustainable procurement. In the sustainability and procurement fields, this is what we refer to green purchasing as. And sustainable procurement is when an organization is purchasing the most sustainable goods and services from the most sustainable suppliers and vendors in an alignment with an organization's sustainability goals. Or if you're purchasing on an individual level, that could be in alignment with your personal values. So, why does this all matter? The goods and services that we purchase have a profound impact on environmental, social, and economic factors. These are also often referred to as people, planet, and profit. And these are the three pillars of sustainability. So, when it comes to purchasing specifically goods, manufacturing and the transportation process can really have harmful effects on the environment. But there are also social costs embedded in our supply chain. So we want to make sure that we're buying things that are made with fair labor and fair workers' rights and promoting good environmental health. So, in a nutshell, sustainable procurement can be thought of as responsible sourcing or values-based sourcing. And so when we're talking about ordering in alignment with organizational goals, just to familiarize you a little bit, I'm not going to dive into all of these, but this is UVA's, or these are UVA's 2030 sustainability plan goals. And so we have 10 bold goals that we're working towards, but the one that we're really going to focus on today is this waste reduction goal. So we have a goal at UVA to reduce waste to 30% of 2010 levels by 2030. So that's really a 70% reduction. And as of this year, or as of last year, we are almost halfway there. So we have a ways to go. It's really going to take all hands on deck to meet this goal. And individual action is really, really key to this. And so when it comes to waste reduction, there's this waste management hierarchy, and this comes from the EPA. But starting at the top, source reduction and reuse is obviously the most effective way to reduce waste. So we want to not create it in the first place. So reduction and reuse are the most effective ways that we can save natural resources, protect the environment, and save money. So getting started with some basics. I'll just start by saying green purchasing can be really hard. It can be really confusing. There's a lot of greenwashing out there, and greenwashing is when a company makes misleading claims about environmental impacts or benefits of a product. So some warning signs can include just like a green product, nature-based marketing, labels with unregulated environmental buzzwords like eco-friendly. Here are some examples. Natural, biodegradable. These are all things that we probably see every single day, but these are not regulated terms. And so it can be really tricky. And so discerning between sustainability claims, like I said, and greenwashing can be challenging. So starting at the most basic level, we can prioritize goods produced in the USA and items made with post-consumer recycled content. When things are made in the USA, we know that we have stronger environmental regulations and fair labor rights compared to other countries where there might be a lot of production. And then purchasing things made from post-consumer recycled content, make sure that we're always closing that loop because we can continue to recycle, but if we're not purchasing goods that are made from recycled content, we need to create a market for those recyclables. So that's really important. But another key is utilizing EPA recommended eco labels. And like I said, this is hard, but we're here to help. So this is our area of expertise, and we're here to help guide you along the way. And these are simply tips that we've learned throughout our work, but just a rule of thumb is just do the best you can, and reach out if you have questions. But we'll dive into eco labels first because these can be really, really helpful. Eco labels, like I said, you probably see them every day in marketing, but they're placed on products that can help us identify ones that are environmentally preferable. Um, they can be owned by lots of different agencies and entities, and there are over 460 in the marketplace today. So it can be really challenging to know which ones to trust. But the EPA has done a really great job making a tool which contains about 40 eco labels, much more manageable than the 460 that are out there. But these 40 are the eco labels that they recommend. And you can filter by product category to know which ones to look for when making purchases. So I will share this presentation with everyone afterwards, and here's a link to the tool here, but it really is helpful. But we're going to dive into some of those most popular eco labels today. So we're going to kind of go through some categories. I know some of you said you buy a lot of catering supplies, some office supplies, but we're just going to go generally by category. So when it comes to printer and paper supplies, the eco label to look out for is this FSC certified eco label. This is the Forestry Stewardship Council, and it applies to responsible forestry practices. Also, like I said, you want to make sure that you're closing that loop on recycled content. So it's important to look for materials that are made from post-consumer recycled content. And then with printer supplies, we can also purchase these remanufactured print cartridges and toners. These are kind of refillable, recyclable, and really reusable. And then when it comes to things that plug in, printers, computers, monitors, refrigerators, things of that sort, the eco label that we want to look for is Energy Star certified when it comes to appliances, and they have a very helpful tool on their website so you can explore energy certified appliances. But we always say, like, when it comes to energy efficiency, consider sharing instead and limiting the amount of appliances that you have plugged in. I know in our office we have 2 refrigerators, and we definitely don't use them both. So we've been able to unplug and take one out of commission and save that energy. And same with our printers. So a lot of the times we can consolidate and save energy and resources there. And then when it comes to IT equipment, ePeat is a very very trusted eco label and organization working on sustainable electronics and IT equipment. And then just a quick note on appliances. As per UVA policy, space heaters are not permitted in UVA buildings, and that's simply because they are so energy intensive and potentially dangerous. Fire hazards and things like that. So just a special note there that if you do have space heaters in use in your office, you can actually connect with the sustainability office and we'll help you swap that out. We can swap that out for you for a sustainable alternative. And then moving on to furniture, we are so lucky at UVA to have the amazing reuse store. This is the surplus store at UVA and it's open to the public. So you can get really awesome furniture that's been kind of decommissioned from UVA buildings at really, really affordable prices and keeping those things in circularity. And so one of my colleagues even got, for instance, a dryer for like $15 for their house. So it's a really awesome resource. It's kind of like treasure hunting in there. But yeah, definitely prioritize purchasing gently used furniture when possible. Also, Green Guard is another eco label that can be used. It's for low chemical emissions products, and that's a good one to keep an eye out for when you're purchasing furniture, textiles, paints, carpeting, cleaning products, things like that. And then lastly, Green Seal is another one to look out for specifically with cleaning products. And we're very lucky that here at UVA, our custodial our custodial teams use specifically Green Seal products. So the products that we're using to maintain our facilities are good for the environment and good for humans. And then in terms of office supplies, I have a feeling this is one that people are buying quite often. I know that our office is often restocking things, but right next to the reuse store, we have the ROSE program, which is the reusable office supply exchange. And everything in the ROSE program is free. And again, it's open to the UVA community as well as the public. And you can stock up on binders, folders, pens, all of the office basics that you could ever need, or school basics as well. And then when it comes to just like office equipment, just opt for the basic versions of things. A lot of the times we have these options that are more high tech, but the basic versions are more reliable and easier to repair, and oftentimes last longer. So we're just increasing the lifetime of products. And then another rule of thumb is to buy things that are refillable. So you can buy these refillable pens, refillable soaps. These are just some examples, but yeah, if it comes to like things like tape that you're buying quite often, just buy the ones that you can refill so that you don't have to buy the whole entire unit every single time you have to restock. And then this one, food and kitchen supplies. I think this is a popular category. And I will also say we have a separate training that's our zero waste events training, where we really hone in on sustainable food service wares. So if you have interest in that, reach out to me as well. But when it comes to kitchen and food supplies, it's it's been UVA policy for a few years now, but it recently got codified that single-use plastics are not to be purchased with university funds. So this is a transition for a lot of purchasers as well as caterers that the university works with. We're working really, really closely with our partners at America to Go to ensure compliance with area caterers on this new policy. But we are opting in for reusable or compostable servicewares. And the really important eco label to keep an eye out for here is this BPI compostable logo. That is the Biodegradable Products Institute, and compostable is a regulated term. So anytime you see that word, you can trust that it can be composted. And we work with Black Bear Composting, which is an industrial composting facility that can take anything from meat, dairy, bones, and any bioplastics that wouldn't be compostable in like a backyard composting setting. We can accept all those items. And so we're really ramping up composting and compostable materials at UVA. And then just another tip is to opt in for more vegetarian and vegan options. And that's not to say you have to eliminate meat entirely, but think of it more as like a topping rather than a main dish, or just try to incorporate more vegetarian options into your events. And like I said, do your best. This is a process. It's, not something you have to completely change one day. And you want to kind of like ease into this and so that other people are on board as well. But it's just another option to kind of decrease our environmental footprint. And then looking for fair trade and local goods is always a best practice as well. And then another popular category is swag. So promotional items, we see these all the time, and it can be really hard to find high quality items that are affordable. So I guess just avoid the cheap grab and go items and offer something that's higher quality and that you don't have to offer to everyone, but maybe offer it as an incentive to maybe sign up for a newsletter or follow you on social media. Something that's really, really popular for us is we give away little succulents, and people love them and they take them home and put them in their office or their dorm. And it's something that they won't necessarily throw away, but they can keep and kind of cultivate that. And then if you are buying promotional items, these are just some good questions to ask before. Will it be useful? Does it match your mission? Will people already have one? And will it have an expiration date? So for instance, you have an event and you buy 1,000 t-shirts that say like Spring Gala 2024. That t-shirt won't be good for much longer. So if you have way too many and you want to give them out again in the next year, they won't be as relevant. So try not to put dates on things if you can avoid that. And then next, you can ask more questions like, is it possible that this product is super cheap because of unfair labor practices? Can this product be consumed? So like consumables are super popular, candy, food, cookies, or can it be recycled or composted at the end of its life? Is it made with recycled content, or can I find one that's a similar product that is made with recycled content? And then, yeah, can you negotiate a batched order over or for the price of a full one so you don't have to over order? And then ask for printed samples so that you don't order a whole batch that you have to then scrap. And then moving on to travel and lodging. Flying just one last time per year is one of the most effective things that individuals can take to help address climate change. So there are a lot of emissions associated with flying, and it is oftentimes necessary. But if there's a trip that's a little bit closer, you can consider taking the Amtrak, which is it's a much more sustainable option. We're very lucky to have an Amtrak station downtown. So for trips to like DC, Baltimore, Philly, or even New York, you could consider going through Amtrak. If you have a shorter trip and you have to book a vehicle, you could consider maybe experimenting with an electric vehicle as well. And if you book travel on behalf of other colleagues, you can always just discuss these options with them and see which ones they're open to exploring. And then you can refer to Virginia Green Travel for more advice there as well. And then moving into some socially sustainable business practices, one of my favorite eco labels, I guess, that I tend to look for is this certified B Corporation. This is for companies that have met really rigorous sustainability standards, not just for environmental wellness, but also for social sustainability, accountability, and transparency. And so this is a eco label that you can keep an eye out for. And then, yeah, you can always keep an eye out for things made in the USA. That's usually very clearly stated in the specs of a product. And SWAM businesses are small, women, and minority owned. And UVA has a goal to have, I forget the threshold, but make a significant portion of purchases from local and SWAM businesses. So ordering from SWAM businesses helps us achieve that goal as well. And now a lot of you might be thinking, okay, this is all really helpful, but how do I find these sustainable products? And so I wanted to just mention a few ways. Through the UVA marketplace, if you're using that, the RGH punch out actually has some really awesome features. And maybe at the end of this, I can do a little demo, but you can go into the RGH punch out on the UVA marketplace. They're a newer vendor, but if you go to their products, you can shop eco products and then you can filter by eco label, which is a really neat feature. So all these eco labels that we've talked about today are featured there, and you can click on the one that you want for the category you're interested in and find sustainable products that way. We also have a sustainable products page that we hand selected these products. Our sustainability team did. And so you can look for this logo when you log on to the supply room punch out. And this is a great place to get compostable materials, especially if you're having events and you need to stock up on compostable servicewares. We have a lot in stock that we have selected there, as well as the aluminum water bottles. And then I mentioned America to Go. You can also filter by zero waste caterer on America to Go. And we are definitely aware that the options at the moment are a bit limited, but we're working with all the caterers on America to Go to improve the compliance with our partners there so that we have more options and more zero waste caterers that we can vouch for that will make your events truly zero waste. And then lastly, we're all purchasing off Amazon, but they actually have a really great feature for climate pledge friendly products, and they have aggregated a bunch of eco labels. And so you can filter by climate pledge friendly products and find more sustainable options that way. But like I said, keep an eye out for those EPA recommended eco labels. Like I said, there's 40 of them, but a good 10 of them are probably in the categories that you're going to be purchasing the most often. So you can rely on those to help make better decisions. And lastly, do your best and just follow your values. It's really important to identify your own personal and workplace priorities. Your team might even consider putting some policies or just gentle guidelines in place for certain types of purchases so that leadership can set some standards around the types of purchases that you are placing and have them ensure that they're aligned with your values. And then other considerations could be to consolidate deliveries to your workplace. Maybe instead of placing an Amazon order every day, you ping your team and say, hey, I'm placing all Amazon orders on Thursdays now to consolidate delivery. Let me know by Wednesday afternoon what you'd like for me to place, what order you'd like for me to place for you. And then you can always, try to purchase things that have less packaging. It can be sometimes hard to tell if you're purchasing online, but if you're purchasing products in person, opt for the one that maybe isn't wrapped in a million layers of plastic. And then consider spending money on long-lasting, high-quality products that will save resources in the long run. And I'll just share some helpful resources to kind of support you on your journey. We have recently launched the UVA Green Purchasers Community of Practice, which is an informal community on Teams that allows employees to share ideas and resources related to sustainable purchasing, ask questions, and learn from one another. So super informal and casual. I think a lot of you are actually on that community of practice. So thanks for joining. And we really wanted to be a platform to discuss these types of things and kind of workshop some ideas and learn together because, like I said, this is an emerging and sometimes very challenging field. And then the SPLC is a Sustainable Purchasing Leadership Council, and UVA joined back in January of 2023, I believe. And so this is an organization with over, I don't know, like $500 billion in purchasing power. It's a lot of entities that are involved, from higher ed to corporations to NGOs, kind of coming together as a force for sustainable procurement and better policies around sustainable purchasing. So anyone at UVA has access to create an account to get a lot of free resources and trainings, guides, webinars, all of that. And it's another great platform to ask questions in. And yeah, if you're interested in joining and want to learn more, feel free to reach out to me. And that is our training. So I would love to hear any questions, challenges that came up for you during that, or thoughts that you had, and any ideas. Thank you all so much for listening.
That was great. Thank you, Shannon. I'm curious to hear from you and the group if you have any other ideas for like more sustainable swag options. Like you mentioned the succulents, which I love. And again, I'm wondering if anyone else has found something that's focused more on that quality over quantity that resonates with students, especially.
I'll open that up to the group first. Does anyone have any suggestions that they've done in the past?
I
I
believe
don't
we,
think,
oh,
oh,
sorry, Sydney,
sorry.
go ahead.
I don't think you can go wrong with water bottles, like reusable water bottles. As a recently graduated person. I loved the water bottle swag. Like, even when I had 10 of them, I would always forget one somewhere and I would need another.
At Blandy, we give out a lot of seeds. And we're kind of in a unique position because most of them come from here on site. And so we put them in little coin envelopes with a little printed label. But as long as, you know, you're thoughtful about what species you're encouraging people to plant, I think seeds can be a really fun sort of sustainability themed giveaway, especially if they're pollinator plants, that kind of thing.
I love that, Maggie. Go ahead, Tim.
At UPD, we hand out bike locks to the students. And so we thought that would be a good idea because not only, you know, public safety style, the bikes get stolen around grounds all the time, but it's something that they can hang on to. And when we purchased them, we tried to do a huge, so we wouldn't have any too much waste involved, like every year, every time to order. So we ordered a number of them. And we've been picking off that pile for a couple of years now, and it's been a good success.
That's
I was gonna say, oh, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I like am a fiend for Facebook Marketplace, just for general apartment furnishings. But people, you know, flock to Charlottesville for wedding venues. And a couple months back, there was someone who posted like 50 umbrellas. So I bought them and then just slapped our sticker on them, and that was like a giveaway item when we were like having a lot of storms. There were also some like handheld fans that we grabbed. I would just love, you know, some more reliability of those. So that's why I'm kind of more interested in like the giveaway grab items. So Facebook Marketplace is all I'm saying.
That is super awesome. Those are all really great examples. And I love that one, like you're using, I love your example because you're reusing things that you've already had. And we did something similar where we had like a thousand water bottles from arts and sciences came to the Rose program. And so we were like, huh. So we just slapped our stickers on that over the arts and sciences logo, and we had like 1,000 reusable water bottles that we were able to give to students that said, you know, who's hurt the planet, which was on brand for us. So yeah, but I love that also those were all in alignment with like your organization's values and like really personal to what you like the core of like your team. So those are great examples. And it looks like we have a question here in the chat. Where are the food containers composted? I've never seen a compost bin and see the food containers end up in recycling or trash. Yeah. So, on the academic side, we have composting stations. We have zero waste stations in a lot of outdoor locations. So we have them at the amphitheater where the food trucks are. We have them at outside of O Hill Dining Hall. We have them outside of Runk. And I'm missing one big one. I know we have 4 and I just said 3, but yeah, it's not coming to me at the moment. But oh, and then at all of our athletics facilities, we have composting now, which is amazing. But we also have more satellite composting for places that have completed like the Green Workplace program or that have champions in that space. And so we are continually expanding composting throughout UVA in really strategic locations because we also have to get the custodial teams on board. But if you ever have an event and you are in a place where there is no composting, you can complete our zero waste event request form, which is on our website. You can just Google UVA zero waste events. And as long as you fill out that form, at least 10 business days before your event, we will connect with you and the UVA recycling team will deliver compost bins to your event and service them after your event as well. So if you ever have even just a small meeting that you want compost at, we can work with you to make that happen. Any other questions on that?
Shannon, just curious, that's exclusive to UVA, right?
It is, yeah. Yeah. But I will say, on the composting front, in terms of personal composting, if you're having like an event at home, you can drop off your compost bags at McIntyre Recycling Center in Charlottesville. And there's also a compost drop-off station at the farmers market on Saturday morning as well.
I just have one like kind of comment, I should say. I've worked at a couple different areas. Like I was in student affairs for many years, and now I've been with public safety the last like 5 or 6 years. And I have just noticed, like, and you all know this as finance purchasers, whatever you are, if you just move forward and do it, the people 9 times out of 10 aren't going to ask any questions, right? And so, like, it's one thing to say, like, hey, we're having a catering event and just do it, like, move forward with being green and contacting the right people or whatever. And I think, unless there's like a specific thing, like the one thing I noticed with the police department, for instance, there's a lot of things that are very specific that we have to have as police officers and with public safety related. So, in the other areas where we can save and do our best, we just move forward and do it. So I would kind of encourage you to move forward and do that, and then like answer the questions later on if it pops up, because it's not really a bad thing, right? It's just one of those like, oh look, there's stuff here that we're doing the right thing, and it's part of the president's pillar sustainability and all of that. So like anytime I've had conversations, at least with the AVP in our area, like the chief or whoever, it's been well received. And so that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'll echo that. We're really lucky to have so much support from leadership. They are so enthusiastic about the changes that are happening at UVA, and there's a lot of support for that. So yeah, I would just encourage you to talk to the leadership on your teams as well, about just small changes that you can make and get some momentum going. Any other questions or even like challenges that people want to maybe workshop with the group?
I have a really quick question. With student health and wellness, we buy Gatorade. Our medical services staff give to kids if they come in with stomach issues or whatever. We're really having an issue finding that in an aluminum container. Actually, I've had to, I went to Pepsi to see if they carried it, in aluminum. They don't carry it. I finally found it online through Walmart.
Wow.
And I'm just wondering if there's any other sources or recommendations you have to try to find where we can have like a single use container that we can give a student that comes in for this as an option.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So based on the single-use plastics policy, things that are not water bottles are okay. So that's actually in compliance with the plastics policy for now. But I love that you're thinking about that. And the only thing that really comes to mind is I'm glad that you found something at Walmart. But in terms of kind of reducing waste, the thing that comes to mind would be, I don't know if they sell like really large bottles, but you could pour those into compostable cups, or even getting like electrolyte packets that students could put in their own reusable water bottles. That's another thought that comes to mind. But yeah, Gatorade powder, that's a great point, Sydney. But if anyone else has recommendations or thoughts on that, please, I welcome you
We
to.
try to kind of source, we did look into that a little bit as far as the powder. We found it hard that it'd be like single use. We could find where we could purchase like where we make a large amount, but making a smaller amount was, we were to find like just a cup, a single use portion. We were having trouble finding packets with that we could just get that way as well. So anyway, I've not revisited it since this school year, but last school year I know it was an issue that we were dealing with.
This past summer at Blandy, we had some really, really hot days where we were worried about the heat and the students working in the field. So we have big, 5-gallon dispenser jugs for them to refill their water. So I bought bulk like tablets. They're Nuun, N-U-U-N, electrolyte tablets. And they are like a little like pill that dissolves in water. And so that, I mean, it does come in a plastic container, but it doesn't involve like an individual piece of plastic for every use. And students would put those into their own reusable water bottles, and they liked them. They like recognized the brand name, which surprised me. So those worked well for us.
Great, thank you. Great, I can take this to our directors and Gen Med and see if there's something that they want to do to make a change other than doing just the individual Gatorades.
And I will say, if you all are part of the Green Purchasers community of practice, I can't, there are like 60 people on it, which is great. So I can't remember exactly which of you are and aren't, but if you are, I would love if you have like follow-up updates on this, or even have like sustainability success stories. We would love to hear that. So feel free to like just chime in on that community and give us some updates or even little success stories, because we love to hear that. And I think it's inspiring to others as well. And I just wanted to mention, before we wrap up, I know a lot of you had said that you do a lot of catering orders and event coordinating. And so we do have that separate zero waste events training. Feel free to reach out to me if you'd be interested in that. But one sort of feedback that we have is in this transition period where we're trying to get better compliance with caterers. When you order through America to Go, you can always you have to select whether you want serviceware or not. So you can always select no serviceware needed and buy like a bulk set of some plates and some compostable forks and stuff, and have that in your office so that you're kind of opting out of receiving any potential plastics that might come along with your order. And so if you buy in bulk, you can also get them at a better price. And those are available on the Supply Room sustainable products page. And you can also find them on Amazon too. Our favorite brand is World Centric. It's a SWAM business and they're a certified B Corporation. So they have really high quality products. But any other thoughts or questions before we wrap up? All right. Well, thank you all so much. It was great chatting with you all, many new and familiar faces. And feel free to send me an email, Shannon Sahs at virginia.edu, if you have any questions or thoughts. And I appreciate your time and have a great day.
Thank you, Shannon.
Bye.